If one day your own child invited you to their house for dinner, what would you think? I thought it was a chance to reconcile, to sit again at the table, to hear the clinking of dishes and the laughter of family after so many years apart. But I was wrong. As soon as the villa door closed, I realized I was not a guest, but prey. Every flickering candle, every expensive glass of wine, every sweet smile, they were all chess pieces in a game already prepared in advance, and the loser was destined to be me. The most painful thing was not death itself, but the cold truth. The ones who wanted to kill me were my own blood. Before I continue this entire story, please hit subscribe and tell me where you are listening from in the comments. Your support is the strength that allows me to keep revealing truths many wish to keep buried. People often say old age brings peace, but for me, Walter Hensley, 68 years old, the recent days have been nothing but echoes of the past and the loneliness of a large house, where only I hear the wood creak beneath my steps. When Caroline, my wife, passed away 8 years ago, I thought my son Adrian would be my only anchor. Yet since the day he left home, carrying his anger and his own ambitions, the distance between father and son only widened. I never imagined that one late afternoon in Santa Monica, whatever bond remained would fracture once more, and this time it could cost me my life. The old Buick jolted to a stop at the gentle slope leading into the seaside villa. I reached out the window, shut off the engine, and drew a deep breath. The smell of salt air mixed with fresh-cut grass from the emerald lawns knotted my stomach, a scent familiar to anyone who had lived in the Pacific Northwest. Yet here it felt different, too perfect, too polished, like an advertisement more than a place where people truly lived. Before me rose the white mansion with its vast glass panels, towering among rows of palms. Water sprayed from a round fountain in the courtyard, the sunset casting a rainbow across it. I straightened my collar and set 2 silver-wrapped gift boxes on the seat beside me. The Omega watch I had once promised Adrian when he became a man, and the pearl necklace Caroline left behind. My heart pounded. 3 years of silence, then suddenly a call. Adrian's voice trembling. "Dad, we miss you." "Come have dinner. Selena wants to cook your favorite dish herself." I could not resist. All the anger, all the wounds of the past seemed painted over by a new coat. Hope. I turned off the ignition, carried the gifts, and walked up to the heavy oak door. I pressed the bell. The sound rang out long and grand, like a pipe organ in a church. I swallowed hard. No one answered. I tried again, then once more. Still silence. Only a tiny camera at the roof corner flashed red, blinking like a cold mechanical eye. I stepped back, a heavy weight pulling at my stomach. Maybe they were stuck in traffic, or still, at the lawyer's office, Adrian mentioned. I sat down on the steps, leaning against the column. My shirt stuck to my back with fountain mist, yet my chest burned with loneliness. And then a sound broke the silence, the buzzing of a hedge trimmer. From behind the hydrangeas, a thin figure appeared. He was about 50, his faded polo stained, gloves smeared with sap. He stopped when he saw me, and his eyes shifted suddenly, from curious to panicked. Who are you?" His voice trembled, but carried a strange weight. "I'm Walter," I answered, forcing a polite smile. "Adrian's father." I came at his invitation. His eyes widened, and the trimmer slipped from his hand with a clatter. "Good Lord!" He stepped closer, speaking low, as if afraid the mansion itself would overhear. "You must leave. I beg you. Do not step through that door." I froze, my heart skipping a beat. "Excuse me." "What do you mean?" The man inhaled sharply, sweat and grass clinging to his breath, his eyes shining with fear. "Adrian and his wife, Selena. They are not who you think they are. I've lived next to them long enough to know. Her father, Howard Marlowe, died about 1 month ago. They said it was a heart attack, but I know it wasn't. I saw him leave here pale as death, vomiting by his car, and a few days later He was gone. All of it was because of poison. His words slammed into my chest like a hammer. I gave a nervous laugh, clinging to reason. You're talking nonsense. That's my son. I raised him. I know him. He once cried for hours when the neighbor's dog died. Donovan, the name on the small sign at the opposite gate, shook his head violently. Believe me, I hesitated for so long before daring to say this, but the moment I saw you sitting there, I knew I could not stay silent. You are the father they mentioned last week. I overheard it while trimming near the fence. They are planning... This dinner is the trap. The gift boxes slid from my hands, crashing onto the tiles. The metallic clang rang like a death bell. In that instant, memories of Adrian flooded back. The boy clutching a fishing pole by the lake, grinning wide when he caught his first fish. The young man shouting when I refused to fund his startup dream. I had often wondered if I had been too harsh, but facing Donovan's trembling gaze for the first time, I felt true fear. Had the son I raised for 36 years become someone I no longer recognized? I tried to banish the thought. One neighbor's words. Could they really overturn a father's faith? I pulled out my phone, secretly calling Robert Kane, a longtime businessman in Portland who had once worked with Howard Marlowe, Selena's father. Robert answered after several rings, his deep, familiar voice. Walter? Been a while since I heard from you. I suppose you've heard. Howard died last month. That news shocked everyone. They said it was sudden. I even asked around the industry, but no one knew the real cause. The funeral was private. Only close family. I gripped the phone tightly. So the death was real, but the cause remained unclear, enough to fuel both doubt and dread. I thanked Robert and hung up, my eyes fixed on the villa, glowing in sunset light. Part of me wanted to believe Adrian truly missed his father. Another part shivered. If Donovan's warning and the silence in those records lined up, this reunion dinner could be my final step in life. Perhaps never before had my hands shaken so badly, not even when I stood before the board defending a construction contract worth tens of millions of dollars. Sitting on the villa steps, the phone still warm from my call with Robert Kane, my heart tangled like a ball of string, Donovan whispered, "Don't go in," while Robert confirmed Selena's father had indeed died, suddenly, without explanation. But can a father turn away from his son on scraps of suspicion? I leaned back against the wooden column, sighing. Old memories surged again, vivid as if yesterday. Adrian was the only son of me and Caroline. He was born on a heavy rain October night in Seattle, and from that moment I believed everything I built, Hensley Construction, the bridges, the high-rises, would be his legacy. Caroline used to joke, "You build bridges, I build a home." One day Adrian will walk across both. By 12, the boy's eyes shone like fire. He loved standing at the work site, staring at beams of steel crisscrossing, bombarding me with questions one after another. But then when 18 came, Adrian changed. His generation grew up with the internet, with dreams of startups that needed no hard hats or cement. He told me, "Dad, I don't want to wear a hard hat in the future. I want to build software. The world runs on code now, not concrete." I laughed, thinking it was just youthful excitement. But that difference slowly became a crack. 4 years ago, right after Caroline passed, Adrian came into my office, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. He handed me a stack of documents, his voice trembling yet eager. "Dad, I need 60,000. Just 60,000. My friend and I already have a model, a logistics AI platform. If it works, it could change the entire transportation industry. You could be the first investor." I remember taking off my glasses, looking straight at my son. Inside me, half of my heart ached with love, while the other half was the cold calculation of a seasoned businessman. Adrian, when I started, I didn't ask my parents for money. I stood on my own feet. If you want success, prove it with sweat, not with a preferential loan from your father. He exploded. You never believe in me. You don't trust me. I believe in work, I answered, not in dreams of overnight wealth. The office door slammed. Caroline's framed photo on the wall fell, glass shattering. That image haunted me ever since. From that day, Adrian cut off contact. His number changed, and his email was empty. I only heard whispers from acquaintances that he had gone with friends to California, then vanished from my life. 3 years passed in silence. I thought I had lost my son. Then just a few days ago, while I sat in my study with piles of old contracts stacked high, the phone rang. The screen read, Adrian Hensley. I thought my eyes deceived me. My fingers shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. Dad! His voice came, no longer filled with the resentment of the day he left. Slow, hesitant, like a man finding his way home. I know it's been a long time. The fault is mine. But, Dad, we miss you. My heart tightened. I heard a soft breath on the other end. Then a woman's voice slipped in, gentle yet unfamiliar. Mr. Hensley, I'm Selena. I've prepared a few dishes Adrian said you love. We truly want to invite you for dinner. A family dinner I could not resist. I looked at Caroline's photo on the desk. She still smiled kindly as always. I felt as if her voice whispered, You've been too hard, Walter. Give your son another chance, I whispered into the phone. I'll come. And so I sat here, on the villa steps of Adrian's home, waiting. Donovan's warning still rang in my ears. They killed her father. Don't step through that door. Then Robert's confirmation. Howard Marlowe is truly dead. Sudden. No one knows why my heart tore between two ends. On one side, the dream of seeing my son again. On the other, a pit of suspicion. The Omega watch in the gift box suddenly felt heavy as a stone. I remembered clearly that on his 16th birthday, Adrian once sneaked into the drawer, put on the item, and grinned before the mirror. One day, I'll wear it on stage, introducing my own tech company. Was that day about to come? Or would the watch become evidence in a shocking patricide? Above, the sun dipped fully into the Pacific, leaving the sky a dark purple. The villa lights glowed, glass walls shimmering, yet inside me that light carried no warmth. It only sharpened the uneasy silence, as if the house itself was watching, waiting. I wondered, had Adrian truly changed, succeeding by effort, or was it all a facade built by Selena, funded by a murky inheritance? And more than that, as a father, was I still clear-sighted enough to see the truth, or had I grown so desperate for reunion that I was blind? Whether Donovan was right or wrong, I didn't know. But one thing was certain. From this moment, I could not step through that door as a carefree father. I had to enter as a man wagering his life for answers. I sat on the steps, gift box beside me, the watch in my pocket heavy as stone, the Santa Monica sky deep in purple, the last daylight bleeding across the villa's glass like a massive mirror. Nearly an hour had passed since I rang the bell, yet inside remained silent, only the fountain trickling and the camera's cold red light blinking. To kill time, or more truthfully, to keep fear from tightening its grip, I let my mind drift back to the hours just before, the long drive from Seattle to here, each mile carrying both hope and doubt. The night before, I barely slept. The sound of waves from Elliott Bay crashed against the shore as I lay awake, replaying Adrian's call. I had stood by the window, staring at my reflection on the glass. A 68-year-old man, salt and pepper hair, eyes dark, at once firm and unsettled. Caroline wouldn't have wanted me to hesitate, I knew. So at 5 a.m, I opened the suitcase, folded shirts, slipped in the blue suit, tucked in Caroline's photo from Florence and the pearl necklace she left. I placed them beside the Omega watch, and for the first time in years I whispered, "Guide me, Caroline." Am I walking into darkness or light? Only God, and When the Buick started, the raspy engine sounded like comfort. I drove through Seattle's familiar streets, the city still half asleep, dawn mist clinging to the windshield. The I-5 highway stretched endlessly south. Each mile was another question. Was I driving toward family or into something I could not foresee? In Tacoma, I stopped for gas, holding a local paper without much thought, until my eyes caught a headline about an inheritance dispute dragging for years, finally ending in silence. I folded the paper quickly, but the words inheritance and silence stuck in my mind like thorns. In Portland, the familiar sights made my heart tighten. Caroline and I had often visited friends there in our business days. I wondered if she were alive. What would she say seeing me drive straight down to California to seek our son after 3 years of silence? Surely she would tell me to be forgiving and remind me not to let pride cloud the truth. At noon, I stopped at a small diner in Northern California. The air smelled of strong coffee and grease, but its simple atmosphere felt grounding. I sat at the counter, ate pancakes with bacon, and listened as the owner asked about my trip. When I told him I was visiting my son, he smiled. Family is everything. Don't miss the chance, I nodded, though inside another whisper echoed. Unclear from my own fear, what will that door open to? Reunion or ruin? By afternoon, desert winds blasted the windshield like a furnace, golden dust swirling. I turned on the radio. Billy Joel's old songs filling the car, the same tunes Adrian once sang off-key in the back seat as a boy. Caroline would laugh each time. Tears nearly came as I gripped the wheel. I told myself that boy once existed, knew love. He couldn't have changed beyond recognition. Could he? When Los Angeles appeared, its glittering towers and endless traffic overwhelmed me. GPS guided me through wealthy streets, modern homes hidden behind gates, and turquoise pools. Beverly Hills felt like another world, far from my dusty years on job sites. And finally, I stopped before the pristine white villa, rainbow spraying from the fountain. The water outside now echoed in my memory like a countdown clock. I jolted back to the present. Darkness had settled, and the camera still watched every move. No footsteps, no door opening. Just me, 2 gift boxes, and the hanging question. I had traveled 1,000 miles to reach here, but could I take the last few steps inside, or would I turn and leave forever? I began to think of leaving. My watch read past 8, the night blanketing the neighborhood, the fountain mocking me with its endless trickle. For nearly 2 hours I sat on the steps with 2 gifts, shirt damp, feeling like nothing more than an uninvited guest. For the first time since the long drive, I seriously considered returning to the car, driving through the night back to Seattle, back to the world I knew, construction sites, contracts, numbers. Then an engine shattered the silence. From afar, headlights cut through the palms, tires whispering against the smooth pavement. A silver Mercedes turned into the driveway, taillights glowing red against the villa's glass. My heart thudded, fingers clutching the suitcase handle. The door opened and a familiar figure stepped out. Adrian, taller than I remembered, hair slicked back neatly, dressed sharply, a sea blue shirt and gray slacks. He looked like a successful man just off work. His eyes swept past, then landed on me, pausing, startled. For a brief moment, I saw the boy from years ago, the child singing, Billy Joel off-key in the back seat. "Dad?" His voice rang warm yet strange. He rushed forward, arms wrapping me tightly. "I'm sorry for making you wait." Traffic was brutal, the scent of expensive cologne mixed with road dust. I let him embrace me, my trembling hand on his back. For 3 years I had longed to hear this word, and now it came so easily it unsettled me. From behind, the passenger door opened. Selena stepped out, streetlight catching her golden hair. Her black dress fitted elegantly around her tall frame. Her smile flashed like a camera, blue eyes glistening. "Mr. Hensley," she said brightly. "Finally, I get to meet you." Adrian told me so much about you. I cooked a special dinner just to welcome you." She came forward, arms wrapping me like the perfect daughter-in-law. Her perfume was sweet, oriental, overwhelming. For a moment, Caroline came to mind. Her gentle embraces, her simple jasmine scent. Selena was like a flawless stage curtain, but lacking something truly genuine. "Sorry to keep you waiting out here," Adrian said, taking the suitcase from my hand. "I promised Selena tonight would be a new beginning." I forced a smile, trying to hide my awkwardness. "I hope so, too." Selena bent down to pick up the 2 gift boxes I had set by the steps. Her eyes lit up at the sight of the silver wrapping. "Oh, you brought gifts? You didn't need to, but I'll keep them safe." So thoughtful, I swallowed hard. Those gifts were supposed to be symbols of trust, but in her hands I suddenly felt as if I had just consigned a piece of my own life. The 3 of us stepped through the main door. The electronic latch clicked, the door opened, and a blast of cold air from the air conditioner swept out. Inside, the villa blazed with light, everything arranged to perfection. Glossy marble floors, high ceilings hung with crystal chandeliers, oversized oil paintings on the walls. The faint scent of new wood and vanilla candles drifted through. "Welcome home," Selena said in the voice of a host. "Please make yourself at home." But I could not. It was all too luxurious, too cold. It felt more like a 5-star hotel than a home. Adrian led me through the living room, down a hallway lined with travel photos, them in Venice, in Tokyo, in Dubai. In every picture, Adrian smiled. Selena beamed, and his father, was absent. A sharp ache rose in my chest. For 3 years, he had lived so many lives without me. "What do you think, Dad?" Adrian asked, proud. "We worked hard to get this place." "It's beautiful," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. But in my head, the question drilled on. Hard work with what? With intellect? With sweat? Or with something else? Selena set the gifts on a glass table near the window, then turned back with a dazzling smile. "You must be tired after the long trip. Let me bring you an iced tea, and then we'll have dinner." The offer sounded warm, but a chill slipped through me. Donovan's image flashed across my mind, the thin neighbor, sweat-soaked, whispering, "Do not step through that door." I steadied myself and nodded. "Thank you. Tea is fine." Adrian patted my shoulder, eyes gleaming. "I'm really glad you came. I've been waiting for this day for a long time." I looked into his eyes. Was there real light there, or just reflections from the crystals above? I was not sure, but I knew one thing. Tonight would answer everything. Selena disappeared into the kitchen, leaving the scent of sautéed garlic and herbs threading through the rooms. Adrian invited me to sit on a charcoal gray leather sofa facing a wall of glass that opened onto the backyard, where the pool shimmered under submerged lights. "Just relax. I'll get everything ready." "I know you like things neat," he said, joking lightly, though a flicker of tightness crossed his eyes, as if he had to keep absolute control. I leaned back against the cool leather, my hand tracing the perfect stitching without thinking. The room bore no marks of daily life, no half-read book, no forgotten coffee cup, only furniture arranged with magazine precision. Outside, water lapped softly against the pool's edge, melding with distant crickets, a manufactured calm so complete it made my skin crawl. Selena returned with a silver tray. On it sat a large glass pitcher of iced tea with lemon slices floating on top, and crystal tumblers catching the light as if designed to seduce the eye. "Please try this," she said, filling a glass and placing it in my hand. Her smile was warm, but when our eyes met, something cold as steel glinted behind the gentle mask. I lifted the glass, the chill of the crystal seeping into my skin. A thought flashed. Donovan had warned me. Do not eat or drink anything they give. I turned the glass in my hand, pretending to watch the ice spin, then smiled. Maybe I should wait and drink with dinner so the flavors go together. I don't want to upset my stomach on an empty belly. Selena paused for a heartbeat, and then quickly regained her ease. Of course, just leave it there. I promise tonight's food will be unforgettable. We moved into the dining room, a long walnut table draped in white linen, silver flatware gleaming, gold-rimmed porcelain, tall wine glasses. The crystal chandelier cast a glacial glow, making the room bright yet cold. On the table, I noticed 3 glasses of red already poured, set neatly before 3 places. Adrian gestured to the head of the table. Sit here, the seat of honor. I hesitated. That spot was far from the door, and they would sit on either side. But I could not refuse without drawing attention. I smiled, pulled out the chair, and sat. I suddenly noticed the table was crowded with scented candles. The fragrance was sweet but unfamiliar, unlike anything Caroline used at home. It twined and lingered in the air, soothing and puzzling all at once, as if something about it was not natural. Selena brought in a silver tray of dishes. First came smoked salmon salad with lemon dressing, then a platter of fragrant grilled beef, garlic buttered toast, and a plate of imported cheeses. I had to admit, everything was meticulously prepared and beautifully presented, on par with a fine restaurant. Yet that very perfection made me uneasy, too polished, too eager to impress. Adrian raised his glass. Let's toast to a new beginning, he said, eyes shining. Selena echoed, to family reunited. They both looked at me, waiting. I cleared my throat softly, set my hand on the stem of my glass, but did not lift it. I'm sorry, the doctor has me cutting back on alcohol these days because of my blood pressure. I'll just sip some water. A flicker of disappointment crossed Selena's face. Adrian hid it better, but his fingers tightened around his glass until the knuckles whitened. I noted it, keeping a polite smile. No problem, as long as you're comfortable, Adrian said, the words a bit forced. Dinner began. Selena kept serving me, talking non-stop about their travels and about Adrian's real estate plans. I nodded, asked small questions to be courteous, and watched every gesture. I noticed she ate very little, only prodding at her plate, while constantly urging me to sample this dish and that. In the midst of it, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced down. A message from a construction acquaintance. Mr. Garrison, a major contractor I had worked with for years. Heard the bad news? Howard Marlowe died last month. Stroke, they say, but people in the association are whispering. My heart seemed to drop into my stomach. I looked up at Selena. She was telling a joke, her long hand briefly resting on Adrian's shoulder, her smile dazzlingly perfect. But in my mind, Garrison's words thudded one by one. People are whispering. Donovan's warning surged back, locking neatly with this message. Aren't you eating? Adrian asks, cutting through my thoughts. I hurried to take a bite of beef, chewing slowly, keeping my face calm. The flavor was rich, restaurant perfect, but nothing could quiet the churn of unease inside me. Selena tilted her head, eyes sparkling. Do you find the food suits your taste? I want tonight to be absolutely perfect, I smiled faintly. It's excellent, Selena. You're very skilled. But in my head, a question echoed. Was this perfection only a cover for another plan? Selena cleared the salad plates, the silver tray clinking softly under her hands. Adrian kept up a stream about real estate, about projects I'm about to jump into, as if to distract me. But I heard the clack of a knife on a cutting board from the kitchen, the dry metal sound like fate knocking at a gate. I stood up, smiling. I'd like to wash my hands. Long drive, a bit dusty. Adrian frowned slightly, then nodded. Bathroom at the end of the hall, on the left. I walked slowly, keeping my composure. But instead of turning left, I stopped at the kitchen door, ajar. A stripe of warm light lay across the marble floor, Selena's shadow passing back and forth. I pressed my ear to listen. Her voice was low but clear. You need to keep him at the table longer? I need time. A small silence, then Adrian's soft laugh drifted from the dining room. He isn't suspicious. As long as tonight goes smoothly. His voice faded, as if he himself feared hearing his own words. A chill ran the length of my spine. I pushed the door open a few inches more. Selena stood by the counter, gloved hands pouring a liquid from a small brown bottle into a glass. The label faced away, but the light brought out a faint logo, a skull with a warning word, poison. I almost stopped breathing. Donovan had warned me, Garrison had messaged, and now the proof stood in front of me. I backed away, heart hammering, swallowing down the wave of nausea rising in my throat. When I returned to the table, I forced a smile, dabbing my brow as if I had only washed my face. Adrian immediately slid the water glass toward me. Thirsty? Selena's getting a special dessert ready. I glanced at the water, clear and sparkling, but the scene I had just witnessed rang in my head. I pretended to lift the glass, then set it down. Maybe I'll wait and have it with dessert. Selena came out with a tray of fragrant apple tarts. She set another fresh glass before me, the water gleaming with a few slices of lemon. For you, I know you prefer something light, she said. I smiled politely, but inside I felt as if I had stepped onto the lip of a cliff. Adrian lifted his own glass, eyes tracking my every move. Selena sat as well, her blue gaze seeming to pierce the calm mask I struggled to keep in place. I turned the silver fork, smiling. You two live very luxuriously here. I'll have to find a way to keep up. They both laughed, but the sound was harsh and tense. I knew that the moment I lifted that glass, everything would end, one way or another. My heart pounded like a drum roll. I bent down, pretending to tie my shoe to avoid bringing the glass to my lips. In that instant, I saw it clearly. This lavish dinner was not a reunion. It was a stage, and I was the lead in a pre-written finale. I needed a plan, and I needed it now. I sat at the head of the table, the chandelier's light making the water glass before me glimmer like a gemstone. But to me, it was no different from a blade labeled Dad, please drink. Selena deftly nudged the glass closer, her voice sweet as honey. Please try it. I made it with a family recipe. I promise it's gentler than wine. Adrian smiled, but it was strained, his fingers drumming a rapid beat on the table as if he himself were nervous. I gave a small cough, feigning slowness. Well, it does look tempting, but I have a habit of drinking after meals. When Caroline was alive, she always reminded me, drink after you eat, don't dilute your stomach juices. I intentionally said my late wife's name, like a shield to buy a few more minutes. Selena tilted her head, her smile freezing for a heartbeat. Yes, but science now says drinking during meals is better. She gave a light laugh, a flash of coldness in her eyes. I turned to Adrian. So, son, how's real estate these days? I hear many people complaining that the market is volatile. I tried to open a long topic to pull attention away from the glass. Adrian seized the chance, his eyes lighting up. He began to rattle on about great bargains, about a villa project in Santa Monica, and investing in a land development fund in Palm Springs. I nodded, resting my hand on the glass without lifting it. I knew full well, one sip, and I would never walk out of this house. Selena cut in, encouraging, You know, Adrian has worked so hard to build all this. This isn't just a house. It's proof of his vision. I smiled, but my mind held the pieces. Donovan whispering, Don't drink. Garrison texting, Howard died last month, and the bottle I had seen with a skull on the label. The question gnawed, could my own child have turned this black and white? I picked up the fork and cut a piece of apple tart. Steam rose, the scent of cinnamon and butter recalling the dinners Caroline used to bake at home. I lifted the fork, but did not eat. It's really good, I praised, eyes on Selena. Could you give me the recipe? She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. If you stay longer, I'll cook many more dishes. The words sounded like a promise, but to me they read like a sentence. Staying longer meant never leaving. I slid my hand into my pocket, touching my phone. An idea flashed. If I couldn't refuse outright, I needed another way. Bring in a player from outside the game. I forced myself to stand, hand on my stomach, feigning discomfort. Excuse me, you two, my stomach has been acting up. I need the restroom. Adrian hesitated, then nodded. Take your time. I stepped into the hallway, heart pounding. With trembling fingers, I quickly dialed Garrison, the man who had just texted about Howard. The phone buzzed, then his warm, deep voice came through. Walter? It's late. What's going on? I whispered, eyes flicking toward the kitchen. Garrison, I'm at Adrian's house. Have you heard anything more about Howard's death? Was it really just a stroke? Silence for a few seconds. Then Garrison sighed. Walter, don't tell anyone I said this. Everyone at the association says Howard was as strong as an ox. He had just signed a life insurance policy worth several million. He died suddenly right after a dinner at his daughter's house. You understand? Beverly Hills police opened a file, but only concluded natural. No signs of foul play. No one found evidence, like those strange deaths you read about, leaving only rumors and whispers. But in our circles, everyone believes there was a hand behind it. My legs turned to stone. Thank you, I murmured, and hung up quickly before Adrian or Selena appeared. When I returned to the dining room, Selena was already at the doorway, a lemon water in hand. Are you all right? I made this cooler. Drink it for your health. Her smile spread wide, but a cold glint flickered in her eyes. I slowed my steps, hiding the trembling. Now I knew for sure. I wasn't just suspicious. I was facing a staged murder, and I was the next target. I hung up with Garrison, my heart hammering. What he had just revealed made my blood feel frozen. Howard died last month, right after a dinner, and had just signed a multi-million-dollar policy. Donovan warned me, and now Garrison confirmed. It was beyond doubt. I knew I couldn't hesitate. There was only one way. Call for help immediately. Without another breath, I pulled out my phone, fingers shaking as I dialed 911. The screen flared, reflecting my face in the mirror, pale, gaunt, but eyes burning with resolve. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher's voice came. I whispered, hoarse. My name is Walter Hensley. I'm at Villa number 47, Palm Drive, Beverly Hills. My son and his wife are trying to kill me. They've put potassium cyanide in the drink. I saw a bottle with a poison label in the kitchen with my own eyes. The glass is right on the table. I haven't touched it. The line was quiet for a few seconds. Then the voice turned firm. Are you sure about the poison? I saw it with my own eyes. They killed her father last month the same way. I'll be next. Keys clacked then. We're dispatching a unit. Estimated time, 20 minutes. Can you stay safe until then? 20 minutes. It felt like a lifetime. I gripped the sink and whispered, I'll try. They think I don't know. I'll keep playing along. Don't eat or drink anything. Don't disturb the scene. Act normal. We're on our way. I closed my eyes, inhaled sharply, and murmured, Please hurry. You're not alone, Mr. Hensley. I ended the call. Breath ragged, I turned on the faucet to drown out my frantic heartbeat, flushed the toilet to create ordinary sounds, then looked into the mirror and saw a 68-year-old man with disheveled silver hair and a bloodless face, but eyes bright as an animal cornered. I straightened my tie and pressed my lips into a counterfeit smile. 20 minutes. If I survived that long, the truth would surface. I returned to the dining room, trying to seem like a patient old man humoring his daughter-in-law, a strained smile on my lips while chaos roiled inside me. The chandelier's light fell on the water glass, making it sparkle like a gem, but to me it was an invisible blade, icy and waiting to strike. Selena deftly nudged the glass closer, voice syrupy. Please try it. It's a special recipe, much smoother than wine. Adrian sat beside me with a forced smile, his fingers drumming hard on the tabletop, the tense rhythm of someone eager to end the game. I stalled for a few more seconds, spearing a bite of apple tart, then asked, Where did you learn to make this? Selena smiled and answered lightly, Eat it. and you'll know whether it's as good as your wife's." For a brief moment her face dipped, the seemingly perfect smile cracking into a cold seam. Just as I was about to spin out more small talk to buy time, a wave of dizziness hit without warning. My head swam, my hands shook, my legs suddenly went limp as if my strength had been drained. I reeled. Clearly I hadn't sipped a drop, so why was my body betraying me so quickly? "Are you all right, Dad?" Adrian asked, but his hand was already clamping down on my shoulder. It was no longer care. It was the grip of a man pinning down prey. Selena tilted her head, her smile gentle but her eyes flashing with ice. "Just try a little, and you'll feel better." I tried to brace my hands on the table, but my arms were quickly pinned. Adrian came around behind me, pressing my shoulders hard into the chair, his voice syrupy and false. "You're old now. Don't fight it. Let us take care of you." My heart clenched. I gritted my teeth and forced out each word. "What are you doing to your father?" Selena stepped closer with the glass in hand, her voice calm as if making small talk. "We just want you to feel more comfortable. Resisting will only make you more tired." Rage flared, and I growled, my voice raw. "Stop! I know everything. I've called the police. They'll be here in a few minutes. Your plan ends here." The two faces before me froze, then twisted into something feral. Selena gave a thin laugh. "You think not drinking will save you?" "The candles around the table have already done the work for us. Feeling dizzy, aren't you? That's plan B. We prepared our bodies beforehand so the scent would affect us less. As for you, you have only a few minutes. Then everything will look like a normal stroke, clean without a trace." I shouted, my breath breaking, my whole body shaking. "I won't drink. I don't want that. You won't make me a victim." Selena leaned in, whispering through her teeth, "Even if you scream, no one will hear. I've studied and tried calling the police a few times, and the fastest they can arrive is about 20 minutes. By then, everything will be settled." My hoarse cries still echoed through the room, making Adrian pause for a second. Selena bit her lip, her eyes sparking with hatred. She lifted the glass and pressed it to my lips. I shook my head, struggled, the chair screeching across the wood floor, sweat pouring, each breath ripping my chest. Time stretched into forever. Just as the rim of the glass was about to touch my mouth, a sharp crash rang out behind me. The large window to the garden exploded, shards flying under the chandelier's light. Adrian and Selena froze, eyes bulging. Selena gasped, panicked. "Impossible! The police can't be that fast." Figures burst in from the dark yard. Leading them was Donovan, the trembling neighbor who had warned me that afternoon. Behind him were 3 other men from the block, holding sticks and flashlights, clearly prepared. "Stop!" Donovan roared, his voice booming over the sound of shattering glass. "I've been watching from the start." "You're trying to kill him right at the dinner table," Adrian stammered. "You broke into my house without permission. I'll call the police." Donovan lunged, knocking the tray from Selena's hand, liquid splashing across the floor. He snarled, "Call them!" "The police are on their way, but we won't sit and watch Mr. Hensley be harmed." Chaos erupted. Chairs toppled, glass shattered. One of Donovan's group pinned Adrian, and 2 others stood between me and Selena. I fought to breathe a little fresh air through the cloying candle scent. A few minutes later, sirens shrieked at the gate, echoing through the glass. Fists pounded the door. A bullhorn hammered, "Los Angeles Police!" "Open the door immediately." A friend of Donovan's hurried down the hall, weaving past fallen chairs to open the gate. Seconds later, the front. Dackler flew open. Officers poured in, body armor on, guns drawn, flashlights sweeping. "Hands off!" "Now!" The shout cracked like thunder. Adrian went rigid, face white. Selena stepped back, eyes wild, still failing to hide a trace of arrogance. The lavish villa became a chaotic crime scene in an instant. Shattered glass, dying candles, screeching sirens. I collapsed into a chair, drenched in sweat and gasping, but a spark lit inside me. I was alive, and this time the truth would not be buried under velvet and shine. The command froze everything. Selena dropped the tray, her hands trembling, while Adrian stood stunned, staring at the barrels aimed at him. Moments ago, they were predators. Now, under the blinding beams, their true selves showed, panicked, spent, out of control. An officer barked, "Everyone, stand still, back to the wall." "Hands up." Donovan and the neighbors stepped aside at once. I was helped from the chair and sat near the door, drawing a deep breath of cool air. The layers of suffocating candle scent seemed to lift. A team of officers headed into the kitchen. I held my breath for news, but the lieutenant's words dropped my heart. "Sir, there's no bottle here matching your description. Looks like someone cleaned up very carefully." Another officer picked up a wine glass on the table and reported, "There's a faint crystalline residue at the bottom. The sink has leftover strange liquid as well. Send it to the lab immediately." He continued checking the candles, sniffed, and frowned. "This smell is unusual." "Send those too." Selena flinched but tried to stay composed. She lifted her chin and snapped, "As you can see, there's no clear evidence." "He's just paranoid." Donovan stepped forward. "Steady. If we hadn't burst in time, she'd have wiped everything." I saw her sneak something into the backyard before the window shattered. Our interruption is exactly why there's anything left at all. The lieutenant nodded, face like ice. "Enough to investigate further. Biochemical evidence and witnesses will decide. Log everything, seal all samples." At that, Selena swayed. The fake thin smile vanished, replaced by a calculating, trembling stare. Adrian hung his head, lips babbling nonsense. An officer turned to me. "Mr. Hensley, can you confirm why you called 911? I answered slowly, my voice shaking but clear. "I saw my daughter-in-law put something in the wine glass. I personally found a cyanide bottle in the kitchen, but now it's gone. Before that, a friend warned me of the suspicious death of Mr. Howard Marlowe, her father." "It all lines up," the recorder nodded, scribbling fast. Selena gave a shrill, defiant laugh. "Without the bottle, you can't charge me with anything." The lieutenant stared her down, voice hard. "Evidence isn't just a bottle. The wine glass, the water glass, even the candles will speak. And we have eyewitnesses." He gestured to Donovan. Donovan stepped up, his voice rolling. "I saw her prepping, heard them discuss forcing him to drink. I warned him, and our whole group just witnessed what happened." Selena fell silent, eyes flickering. Adrian suddenly shouted, his voice breaking, "No! This is a misunderstanding. Dad, you have to speak for us. We only wanted what's best for you." I looked straight into his eyes. My son, once my treasure, whom I taught to hold a fishing rod by the lake, now bowed before handcuffs. I spoke slowly, each word a blade. "You intended to kill me. I can't protect you anymore." Adrian crumpled, hands shaking as officers cuffed him. Selena tried to keep her pride, but her steps faltered as she was led away. The grand villa now blazed with flashlights and the flicker of patrol cars at the gate. Neighbors spilled out, whispering at the movie-like scene, a glittering family collapsing at dinner. I leaned against the wall, Donovan's hand on my shoulder, his voice low. "You survived, Walter. Don't blame yourself. Their greed was their choice." I nodded faintly, eyes burning. Outside, sirens tore the night, but inside me, a heavy silence settled. I had escaped, but the price was losing my only son, not to death, but to a truth laid bare beyond repair. After that chaotic night, the opulent villa became a sealed crime scene. Forensics moved in and out with gloves, evidence bags, and plastic boxes for the smallest scraps. News spread fast. A wealthy family, a fateful dinner, and 2 children accused of plotting to murder their own father for money. I could only sit in silence, as if watching a slow-motion reel. Calls, statements, financial files turned to light. The investigation opened on 2 clear fronts. First, motive. Adrian's chain of debts, overlapping loan contracts, and desperate emails. Added to that, The benefits Selena gained from a prior inheritance painted a suffocating financial picture. Those figures, invoices, and messages were no longer dry data, but the reason they acted. Second, evidence and witnesses. Even though Selena tried to dispose of the bottle, the lab still found traces, unusual residue at the bottom of a glass, remnants in the sink, and leftover candle wax with an inexplicable scent. These samples were analyzed not to explain every detail, but to answer a simple question. Was there tampering with the drinks and the air? The key came in a detail revealed later. Before dinner, Adrian and Selena had used a very small acclimation dose to raise their tolerance. That way, as the closed room grew oppressive, they remained clearer, while I, unprepared, grew dizzy and weaker by the minute. In court, the prosecutor assembled the whole picture. Plan A, poison placed directly in the drink. Plan B, create an environment that weakens the victim, making him easy to subdue. Selena managed to hide the bottle when the neighbors stormed in, but failed to erase everything, and the statements from Donovan and the neighbors were the missing piece. They described seeing Selena carry something to the yard, Adrian pinning me to the chair, and the strangeness in every move they made. The defense countered, no bottle, no direct proof. But the prosecutor replied with a clear triangle: financial motive, eyewitness testimony, remaining traces. When all three aligned, there was no room for sophistry. The forensic expert explained simply, we don't need the original bottle. The presence of traces that cannot exist in an ordinary dinner, combined with witnesses, is enough to prove intentional interference. On sentencing day, the prosecution closed with the final pieces: messages, money transfers, traces in the dining room, and neighbors' statements. Adrian and Selena were found guilty of conspiracy and attempted poisoning. As the cuffs clicked on their wrists, I sat unmoving. There was relief that justice had arrived, but the pain did not ease. It wasn't death that took my son from me, but truth. He chose betrayal over blood. What haunted me most was not the sentence, but the cold preparation, step by step, detail by detail, even using an acclimation dose to fool everyone. This was not a moment of impulse, but a plan calculated from the start. When the trial ended, people filed out. Outside, police cars wailed and turned down another street. In me, the candle scent of that day lingered, no longer warm, but the smell of betrayal, and the lesson that sometimes the most dazzling exterior hides the darkest interior. The final sentencing took place in a packed courtroom. No gleaming chandeliers, only cold light falling on the two defendants. Adrian and Selena sat there, faces emptied of the confidence and arrogance from the beginning. The judge read the sentence, the voice echoing like a gavel striking fate. Adrian Hensley, 40 years in prison, no parole. Selena Hensley, life imprisonment, no possibility of release. The room fell silent. Someone sobbed in the back, while I sat motionless. My heart had cracked long ago, and today's sentence only placed a period on a tragedy sown long before. I left the courthouse and stepped into the golden afternoon sun. People crowded to snap photos and ask questions, but I heard only one thing in my head. I was still alive, and they had chosen the road to the abyss. Justice had been done. But the price was not only prison sentences. It was the truth carved forever into my memory. Sometimes the betrayer is exactly the person you once loved the most. If you've listened this far, thank you for your time. This is not only my tragedy, but a reminder. Stay alert to the unusual signs, even within your own family. What do you think about the sentence for Adrian and Selena? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next stories. Ones where sometimes the truth is more chilling than fiction. Thank you for listening,